Hello and welcome to the season 1 recap of the Swedish TV show on Netflix, Young Royals. Before I get into that though, Gossip Girl starts next week and I believe that HBO is going to be releasing one episode every week, so I'm definitely going to be doing video recaps of that and feel free to join the discussion if you're going to be watching as well. Anyway, back to Young Royals. Episode 1 opens with Prince Wilhelm, or Wille, hyperventilating while somebody is knocking on the door, telling him that the car is waiting. In the car, we see that he has wounds on his face from a fight at a nightclub, and what with being a prince, this video of the fight at the nightclub went viral. He's told that he's going to have to publicly apologize and announce that he's going to boarding school. It's all been decided, but he's upset obviously because he doesn't want to leave his friends. Turns out that all of the royals have gone to this boarding school for generations, but up until this point they've allowed Wille to go to public school. So he eventually makes the announcement, but he's visibly doing it against his will. We also find out that he seems to have been having a tough time over the last year because of his confirmation, and he kind of acted out because he couldn't take the pressure of the scrutiny and the responsibility that comes with royal life. Wille's older brother Eric, who is the crown prince, sees him off to school, and this is his alma mater, so he helps Wille settle in. They arrive at the school greeted by August, their cousin, who seems to be a more charismatic and less creepy version of Chuck Bass, I guess. There is quite a bit of fanfare around everyone wanting official photos of Wille doing things like taking his bags inside and shaking the principal's hands, and Wille looks kind of uncomfortable with all this attention at first, but he does appear to later on be enjoying the choir's performance, and this could have something to do with the cute soloist who's in the choir. The choir soloist Simon is a first year, and August asks him to hook him up with booze for Wille's party, and in exchange August will see if he can get Simon an invite to the party, which is kind of a big deal because he's a first year. Now the reason why August is asking Simon is because Simon is not a resident at this boarding school, so he has a better connection with the outside world, I guess. And I also think there's a bit of, guys like August who look at scholarship kids like Simon will automatically assume that kids like Simon will have access to contraband. We're then introduced to Felice, modern nobility as August describes her. He also expresses a romantic interest in her. Felice prefers Wille though. She says that even though August is interested in her, he's not a royal. His children wouldn't be princes and princesses, so she wants to be in the royal family. And she tells her roommate that she has to be strategic about it. We also meet Simon's sister Sarah. She seems to be a stable hand / friend to Felice. She loves this because she gets to ride as much as she wants. Simon and Sarah go to day school and we see them taking the bus home every day, unlike the other kids who live at the boarding school. So at one of their meal times, Wille goes to sit with Simon, and this budding friendship is already so adorable. And August, who sees this, doesn't look too pleased, and he calls Wilhelm over to sit with them. Later, Simon tells August that if him and his sister can come to the party, he'll agree to arrange the alcohol. Simon goes to see his father after school, and his father seems to have back issues. He might have substance use issues as well. He's on meds, and his father agrees to help him get booze for this party. It's very clear that Simon's father loves him, cares about him, and is accepting of Simon's sexuality. So he's not a deadbeat or anything like that, but he does have a disease which stands in the way of him being a present and active father. Then we cut to the gross initiation party for Wille, and it looks like a nightmarish frat house boarding school initiation that you'd expect. He then gives a pledge to be a brother. So after the initiation, there's a party afterwards, and Simon and Wille are making secret eyes at each other. Simon's sister also sees Felice chundering in the corner. I don't quite know what Felice's issues are yet, but she's a bit of a mess, and not in a fun drama way, but in a sad, concerning way. Simon and Wille end up talking and they go outside together, and Wille tells Simon that when he heard him sing, it was as though he was singing straight from the heart. Aww. Then August comes around looking for Wille, shouting, trying to find him. Wille and Simon hide behind a wall, and it looks like something is about to happen, but this is where episode 1 ends. In episode 2, we see what looks like a school tradition where the kids have to stand on their chairs the night after a party and share their hookup stories. August wants to know who else has anything to share, and he reminds everyone that Wilhelm left the party at some point and everybody wants him to fess up, but Wille doesn't say anything. So Felice, who has a crush on Wille, Wille, tries to talk to him, but August kind of crashes and invites her to dinner instead. Wille doesn't seem to have any romantic interest in Felice though. Also, this next day at school, Simon's sister Sarah says hi to Felice, who just ignores her because I guess she's in front of her cool girlfriends now. We also learn that a group of students take private lessons in order to maintain their high grades. Not just to become more knowledgeable, but it seems as though the teachers are more lenient or generous with grades to students who take these lessons. For Simon, this is an issue because he can't really afford the lessons, but he agrees to take them anyway. And his teacher tells him that they'll send his family an invoice, and I'm already nervous. Felice is having trouble with her horse again. This seems to be a common theme, and honestly, they don't really look like they like each other very much, or maybe the horse senses her anxiety and her impatience, I guess. Sarah, as usual, manages to calm the horse down, and at this point it's clear that it's important to Felice to play the part of the modern royal, taking selfies, pretending to be happy, etc., having the most expensive horse, but she doesn't seem happy. Sarah tells her that she needs to give in and admit that she's scared of him and that they can work on it. Felice then asks her to take a photo of her and her horse, and it's clear that she's doing this to keep up appearances. So the guys are rowing and Wille is giving Simon some advice, but of course August is around the corner and calls Wille away. He just thinks, and we'll learn it later on, that Wille should be careful of who he hangs out with. At this point he doesn't really trust Simon because Simon is not part of their rich kid club. Later on as well, while Wille is kind of stalking Simon's Insta, August comes into his room and tries to get him to join the rowing team, and we eventually find out that all of the school stuff, the competitiveness, the hierarchy, the school spirit, is important to August because his mother sent him to that school when his father took his own life, so the school is a big part of his life. We also see him taking 2 pills later. At this point we don't know if he has a substance use issue or if he has a secret illness. He does go and ask Vincent to get more from his psychiatrist though, which means he's not being prescribed by the doctor, and it turns out that it is ADHD medication. So August goes to the guidance counselor and tells him that he thinks that he has ADHD. The guidance counselor tells him that it's just stress, not convinced of August's self-diagnosis. August starts to get really combative because getting that assessment for ADHD and eventually medication wouldn't be possible that week because those things do take weeks. By the way, Felice does let slip to August that Sarah has ADHD and Asperger's, so we're definitely coming back to that. So Wilhelm is adorably kind of stressed because Simon can't come to practice, and at this point we still don't know what actually happened at the end of the first night when they were hiding together. Anyway, Wille decides to skip practice and go and meet Simon. He takes the bus, and obviously he doesn't quite know how at first, but he eventually manages, and they have a nice time together with Simon's friends. This is really wholesome, and Wille looks genuinely happy. Both of them do. As Wille is sneaking back into the boarding school, August catches him and tells him that he has to replace Alexander at dinner duty because Wille left the school's premises without permission, which isn't allowed. August also suggests that Simon might be using Wille for views on social media, and Wille texts Simon asking him to please delete the video of them together at the soccer game. One day the headmistress tells August that his tuition fees haven't been paid and that they can't get hold of his mother. August makes up a lie, I guess, that his mother is traveling, but there's something going on there. So August gets to the point and asks Sarah if she has ADHD and if she's on medication. When she says yes, he asks if she'd be okay with selling him some. I was glad here because I initially thought that he might try flirt with her, get close with her, and steal her meds. This is the less terrifying approach to me though. Anyway, Simon shows up just on time and August tells him that he'll double what he owes Simon if he gets him pills, which since his fees aren't paid, I don't think that Simon can count on this, but of course he doesn't know that. So Simon goes over to his dad's house again and he's scrounging through the drawers looking for pills, and he stupidly takes a whole lot. I really don't like Simon here. He seems to be using his dad emotionally to get what he wants, and I feel as though his dad is genuinely trying, and his dad is also sick. I know that teenagers can be thoughtless in this way, and that their relationship is really complicated, but this was tough. So one evening the group is having a movie night, and the boys Simon and Wille finally have this moment where they kind of hold hands, but Wille gets overwhelmed and he leaves. So obviously Simon goes out to find him and they kiss very briefly and chastely. As Simon is about to leave though, Wille signals that he wants him to stay and they kiss for real. And that's the end of episode 2, and I adore this show. So it's episode 3, and as we know, Simon is part of the choir, but he can't read sheet music, and Wille joins him and tries to teach him a little. It's an adorable scene, but Wille eventually tells Simon that they should just forget about what happened on Friday night, the kiss, because he's not like that, but he still wants to be friends. Oh, Wille. Meanwhile, Felice and her horse are having drama again, and I'm so scared that she's going to just fall off one day. She asks Sarah why she's not in contact with her dad, and Sarah starts opening up to Felice and says that because he's a bad person who can't take care of himself and everyone around him suffers. So Wille doesn't seem to have meant the whole let's forget Friday night thing, because he's still busy making googly eyes at Simon in the change rooms, and he stalks his social media, obviously. Thank goodness Simon just seems to be getting on with it though. We don't need another Omar in Elite Season 4 situation here. Wille, who just can't stay away, sees Simon in the gym and tells him that since Friday is Parents' Day and all the kids usually go home for the weekend with their parents after the conference, what if Wille would stay behind? Maybe Simon could stay too and keep him company. Just the two of them. By the way, Wille's parents are going to be at a state function, so they're not going to come to Parents' Day. Simon is all of us at this point and asks, well, what happened to us forgetting about it? And Wille just says he takes it back. They agree, and they look really pleased and adorable about getting to spend the weekend together. Later, Simon gets an invoice for the private lessons, and it comes up to 5,500 kronas, which is around 541 euros, which is kind of crazy, but I know this is going to cause some drama. So Simon goes to August to try and get his money back, and in typical rich kid style, August doesn't have time for this, and probably doesn't even realize this is life-changing money for someone like Simon, but at the same time, August could be broke, so he's being very shady here. So it's Parents' Day and there's excitement in the air, and all the parents look like the parents of children at an exclusive boarding school. The headmistress sees August's mother and asks to speak to her in private. And as soon as I saw Felice's mother, I knew right away why she was just so stressed all the time. Her mother gives her this Louis Vuitton blouse and says that it was too small for her and that it should fit Felice. Her mother is pressuring her as well for details about how things are going with Wille, and Felice doesn't outright say it, but she says that there is a vibe in classes and things, but she's not very detailed. She's not lying either. But there is the sense that she really needs to please her mother. Her mother tells her that Wille likes everything she posts, so her mother obviously monitors Filet's social media, and she's kind of scary. She also makes Felice promise to keep her updated on what happens between her and Wille. August meanwhile tells Simon and Sarah that actually Parents' Day lunch isn't for non-residents. I'm guessing he feels threatened or inadequate in some way, so this makes him feel better. He eventually does tell them that he'll make a plan to make space for them. Still, he kind of puts a show of making it seem as though he's doing them this big favor, and right now him throwing his weight around like this is kind of rich, since again, he can't pay his fees. So Wille, who I can really relate to at this time, goes up to his room because it's awkward being around everyone shaking their hands. He's video chatting with his brother, the Crown Prince, Eric, who is trying to encourage him to go out and mingle. He eventually tells his brother that he wants to stay there for the weekend because he needs to study, but his brother isn't buying it. I really laughed at this scene so much because, again, it's relatable, it's adorable, a lot of shy laughs, and they have a genuinely good relationship as brothers. Wille kind of wants to tell, but he's kind of too shy to give the details as well. Then, in a bit of a social upset, Wille decides to sit with Simon and his family at the parents' luncheon instead of August. So everyone is getting to know each other, and the parents ask about Sarah, and she says she loves riding horses. She rides Felice's horse every day, and everyone's like, I beg your pardon? She says she rides the horse every morning, every evening. She cleans the horse's box because Felice doesn't want to. She doesn't pick up on the fact that this is meant to be a secret. Felice has been exposed though, and it's so awkward. Although kind of lucky for Felice in a way, because Wilhelm goes after her, and at least her mother might see this and back off for a minute. Felice is quite emotional. She tells Wille that she can't do anything right, and he tells her that everyone thinks that she's perfect. And then she quite innocently and understandably misinterprets the moment, and she kisses him. Wille is quite a gentleman about it, even though this isn't what he's looking for, and it's a little awkward. He tells her not to worry about it. August's mother, meanwhile, tells him that he'll have to liquidate some of his father's business assets to pay for his tuition. He doesn't want to let those things go, though. They have sentimental value, and the ownership of those things means that he gets to stay in that exclusive club. Anyway, he decides that he's not going home for the weekend, he's staying at the boarding school, which is kind of going to suck for Wille. So after August brushes Simon off again, Simon tries to scare him and he ends up losing his cool, understandably, and he kind of attacks August, but his friends get him to calm down. August finally admits that his family is broke and he has no money. I'm always fascinated by cash poor, rich people. I'm guessing he owes a couple of €100, and I get his situation obviously, but it's just always funny that this guy who is related to the royal family and who owns acres of land can't pay this back. Later, Felice shows up in August's room and the circumstances aren't great. She's emotional and lonely, possibly feeling a bit rejected by Wille. He's struggling with his Ritalin issue and his family issues, but they seem to maybe find comfort in each other at this time. I surprisingly don't hate this pairing, but I don't think this is going to work out well. So Simon comes back to school later and Wille texts him asking if they can talk, and I'm like, oh no, that's never a good sign. He tells Simon that August is staying at the school all weekend and will be on him pretty much all weekend. I mean, I doubt it because August has bigger issues, but anyway, Wille asks Simon what he thinks. I was happy here that Wille didn't just make an executive decision to call it all off. Simon's like, well, I obviously can't stay, and Wille says maybe he can go with Simon to his hometown because he just wants to hang out with him. Oh. They're happily walking out, and then we see everyone on the school grounds turning and giving him sad and gossipy looks over something on the internet on their phones. Then one of the administrative staff comes out and asks to see Wille, and I'm terrified, but it seems a little bit more sad and potentially tragic than anything scandalous. So they put him on the phone with his mother, and I guessed right, it's Eric. He lost control of his car and he has passed away. So episode 4. Eric's death on its own didn't really affect me as much because we didn't get to know him beyond being a really good brother and a confidant to Wille, but of course we're experiencing this loss through Wille's eyes, and it's actually quite devastating. I don't know who this actor is who plays Wille, but he's pretty phenomenal. Of course, everyone is also watching the funeral procession on TV, and it's not really a spectacle or anything, but I really felt for Wille having part of his grief shown on TV, but this is the life of a royal, right? So Wille is now the crown prince, and his mother gently warns him that there are going to be comparisons between him and Eric, that she knows that he hasn't had any time to prepare for this role, but that he needs to be a role model and he can't make any mistakes. Meanwhile, surprisingly, August pays Simon 500 kronas and tells him that he knows that he owes more, but this is the best that he can do for now, which I guess is a start, even though it's not nearly enough. So the Queen personally asks August to look after Wille at school. He then tells Vincent to gather the society to get ready for a new member, and I really hope this isn't some riot club nonsense. Wille stands in front of the school and thanks them for their condolences and talks about his brother in a kind of memorial. He says that he'll honor his family's legacy as their new crown prince. Simon comes over and talks to him, and Wille tells him that he has to delete all of their texts and they can't keep doing this anymore. So things change kind of around school. A lot of people are calling him Your Highness now, and he's been given a bigger and more private room. I guess he also has security personnel now at the school, and it looks like it's going to be lonely. He thinks a lot about the memories that he had of him and Simon being close, and he deletes Simon's number. At one point, he wants to be alone and asks for 1 second, and his security person says, no, sorry. He then goes for a walk with them in tow and bumps into Felice and her roommate doing some kind of ritual to get rid of negative energy. He decides to join them. This is a random scene, but I really loved it because Wille gets to do something just kind of random and fun, and I like that Felice is there as a friend for him. Simon meanwhile goes to see his dad, and his dad is passed out on the couch. He steals more drugs, and I really hate the storyline. He gives them to August to sell so that August can pay him back, and when August says no, Simon threatens to reveal to everybody that he's broke. August eventually agrees since they have national tests coming up, which means demand will be high, and it works. So it seems that August and Felice are a couple now, I guess. I hoped that it might work out in some way, but this is just a mess. This also coincides with her growing friendship with Wille, and so August is getting really jealous and kind of scary about it. So Wille finds a letter in his room inviting him to some society function, and he sneaks out and they go to this abandoned house/building on the premises. He's welcomed into the society led by August. They offer him the seat formerly belonging to his brother Eric, and he has to swear to help prevent the extinction of the families of the society's members. You can see that Wille finds it a little ridiculous, but he goes along with it. They drink and party, and then, oh no, August brings out Simon's dad's party favors, and Wille ends up wandering about drunk in the rain, having also taken some pills. He then calls Simon and tells him that he really likes him, and he starts rambling. Simon ends up biking over there, and oh goodness, this scene, it's too much, it's so cute. Simon ends up sleeping over at the foot of Wille's bed, and it's innocent. Just as Simon is about to leave, Wille asks him to hold him and stay until he falls asleep. They have a moment where Simon tells Wille that he likes him too, and there's some heavy petting going on, basically. I'm usually not really a fan of sex scenes on TV shows, especially the ones in high school settings, but kudos to the show for not making it over the top and gratuitous like Elite. It just looks like two young people being intimate, and the scene isn't meant to shock you or anything. I just feel like if a teen show is going to insist on having intimate scenes, which fair enough because teens are having sex, it happens, this would be the way to go. So August just happens to be walking past Wille's window when this is happening, and at first he's kind of like a typical teenager, glad that his friend is hooking up, I guess. And then he stupidly starts recording it on his phone, but then he realizes that the other person on the video is Simon. The episode ends here, and I feel like this could go any way. This is good for August because Wille is no longer competition for him for girls, especially Felice. Not that they're a good match by any stretch, but I really don't want any love triangle drama, or for August to carry on thinking that there is a love triangle anyway. I also believe that even though August likes to take some advantage of his proximity to the royal family, well, he is in it, he does seem to be a genuine friend to Wille most of the time, just as he was to Eric, so I don't think that August is going to try and use this against Wille. I hope he proves me right. We just need to have this video deleted because we know how these things get out. Okay, on to episode 5. So Simon ends up staying over and the romance continues. Then Wille's bodyguard reminds him that breakfast is closing in 5 minutes. Wille thanks Simon for saving him the previous night and sneaks out first to get breakfast. And of course he saves some breakfast sandwiches for Simon. It's very thoughtful and adorable. Anyway, I'm worried because August still has the video. So as Wille is about to give the sandwiches to Simon, August sees him and calls him over. He asks Wille what happened to him last night, that he kind of disappeared, and Wille just says he kind of blacked out. Another potential issue for Wille is that one of the people in the group, Alexander, has been suspended. He also had a lot of drugs on him from that night of the party, and it might just be a matter of time before the whole group is drug tested, so they all agree to say they know nothing. Sarah and Felice, meanwhile, are bonding. Sarah confides in Felice, and it seems as though they're becoming actual friends. Felice invites her over to a sleepover, and they get ready together for a dinner function at the school. So I'm really fascinated by Wille and Simon's interactions here, by the way. They barely seem to be hiding, which is actually really good for them. Wille seems pretty comfortable, even with his bodyguards around. He goes to Simon's house at one point, and I was laughing so much because the bodyguard literally is there and comes into the house as well. Meanwhile, over at the girls' sleepover, Sarah tells Felice that August kissed her in the stables. Felice says the fact that she's not really that upset means that she was not in love. A minute before this, she was already saying that dating him wasn't what she thought it would be. So the girls take a selfie and send it to August, letting him know that they're done with him because of the kiss. But as we know, Felice isn't really interested anyway. August tells the group later on that they need to help to not have Alexander expelled. In an honestly genius twist, August decides that they should have Simon take the fall since he was the one who sold them the drugs after all. I knew this would come back to bite Simon. So Wille tells Simon about the plan, that they want Simon to take the fall, and it's bad. Wille isn't telling Simon that he wants him to do that. He's more feeling backed into a corner, needs help, and doesn't really know what to do because this could be potentially damaging for his family. Simon says that he's not going to protect the royal family just because the prince messed up. August, meanwhile, is growing increasingly bitter, it seems, and he still has that video on his phone. This is going to leak, I can feel it. The headmistress eventually calls him in and tells him that the board and the school have made a joint decision that he can't return to school after Christmas break. Wille then actually tells the group that it should be Alexander that they should let take the fall because he'll be fine. He'll end up at a school in Switzerland, which is a good point. Alexander will be protected by his money, yet this mistake could ruin Simon and his family's lives. When August tells Wille that he doesn't get to call the shots in the group, Wille reveals that August won't even be coming back after Christmas break anyway because he can't afford the tuition. Good play by Wille, by the way. And I don't mean him revealing that August is potentially broke, but having Alexander take the fall rather, knowing that he will be cushioned. Him having to reveal August's financial status was just a necessary power move in the moment. It was really nice of him as well to take that leadership role and see all the members fall into line. So they all give their prepared statements to the headmistress, blaming Alexander, pleading ignorance as well. This leaves August seething, and he's looking at that video again, and my nerves are frayed at this point. So the girls have this party at school, and it seems to be a tradition. Felice's mother insists on having her wear the dress that she wore and that her mother wore, but it doesn't fit, so Felice's friends find something better for her to wear. She finally stands up to her mother and eventually gives the lead role in that ritual to Sarah. I love this. Sarah looks so beautiful and so happy to take that role, and Felice actually seems to be having a good time as well. Wille finally tells Simon that he's in the clear, and Simon is all, well, do you want me to thank you? And at this point, I'm like, yes, Wille had your back when it really mattered, so say thank you. Anyway, they do make up, but scheming August is at the library connecting his phone to the computer, and I just know what's happening. He uploads the video online, and Sarah is in the hall and just so happens to see him there. I'm guessing this video is going to go live at the ceremony. And then, oh no, August gets a call from the royal family, and he's told that Wille had asked his family to take care of August's tuition, so August doesn't have to leave the school. Just as predicted, the video leaks at the party, and that's the end of episode 5. Okay, so my mind was kind of buzzing a bit after this episode, and I kind of thought that, well, in some countries, if you're a minor and you possess or distribute this kind of material of other minors, it's still a crime. So if this bounces back on August, he's in big trouble, which good. I'm guessing his social status might shield him from any real consequences though. Any intimate moment getting out, even if you're a non-famous person, is such a violation of privacy. So even if this doesn't turn out to be a family ruining scandal, nobody wants that part of their lives to be out there without their consent. So this could still be personally very devastating, obviously. Of course, August also outed 2 people, which is really cruel because people should only come out on their own terms. Basically, this is a mess, but we have 1 episode to go, so it'll be interesting to see how this is resolved. It's episode 6, and I am stressed. Wille's parents come to the school, and his mother doesn't seem mad though. She tells them that this will have consequences. She says that they'll just deny that it's him in the video. I don't think that that's going to work, Your Highness, but okay, we'll see how this strategy plays out. She also says that he shouldn't see Simon for now. Simon is on the front page of a gossip magazine, and he's recognized in the shops. His mother tells him that he should file a police report, and she suggests that they leave the school. Obviously, this seems unfair to Sarah because she's just made friends and she enjoys her school life. At school, when she's with her friends, they see the public computer being taken away. This is the same computer she saw August sitting at, so she knows. And I hope she says something to someone before August gets to her. Simon's friends come over meanwhile to keep him company and to comfort him, and when he tells them that he's planning on leaving, they're like, well, why should you be the one to take the blame? So yeah, I do hope that he doesn't leave because of this, because it seems rather drastic. Back at school meanwhile, August brings Wille his dinner, and the nerve. He acts all concerned. He does say to Wille though that he thinks that Eric would have wanted him to be himself and to follow his heart. So school seems kind of uncomfortable for both Simon and Wille, but the kids aren't being bullies and they're not being mean, even amongst themselves. There is that curiosity and they're talking about it because it's news, but it doesn't seem very mean-spirited to me. This makes sense since this is set in the present day and 2 young guys being gay isn't taboo. In this old money / royal or royal adjacent crowd though, there's a lot of talk of how is there going to be an heir. It's obvious that that's the scandal and not them being gay. I didn't sense any homophobia from the school, the classmates, the bodyguards, and the general messages that were coming in from the public about them. So Wille tells Simon that they want him to deny that it's him in the video, and Simon tells him that they can't dictate what he says, and they agree that they haven't done anything wrong. And I really love this scene because there's no shame here, and this doesn't make them not want to be who they are. Both of their circumstances are different, but they agree they're in this together. Then we get a scene of August looking very stressed as he sees Sarah walk past. She eventually confronts him in his room and she asks him why he did it, and he doesn't really know at first. He eventually says that Wille has everything and he just doesn't care. He's an embarrassment to the royal family. He asks her then what she wants, and she says that she wants to be a resident at the boarding school. He tells her that that shouldn't be difficult to arrange. He'll even help her apply. So yeah, she lets him buy her silence, and I'm worried about her. I know that she just wants to be a part of that life with her friends, but I feel that she wants it a little too much. At home, she complains because they don't have cloth napkins, and she doesn't like that her family sometimes eats dinner in front of the TV. Simon eventually confronts her about it because he feels that she's being rude to their mother, and she eventually tells him that she feels as though nobody likes her when she's herself, which is heartbreaking because I didn't think that she was putting on an act with the rich girls. I felt like they liked her as she was. It is understandable though that she's a teenage girl and she wants to be more like them to fit in even more. And ooh, speaking of her friends, Felice looks like she's trying to look into who might have been behind the recording, and she looks pretty determined. Then as Simon says goodbye to Wille as he's going home to give his public statement, it feels like he might not follow the family script. Simon thanks Wille for not letting him go through all of this alone, and later Wille tells his mother that all he wants is just to be in a relationship with Simon. His mother asks him if he feels as though it's really worth the attention that he'll have to endure for the rest of his life, and she encourages him to take the opportunity to cover this up and move on. Sadly, eventually Wille falls in line with the palace's wishes, and Simon finds out on the news that Wille has denied being the person in that video. Honestly, I get it. I myself don't know if I'd be able to be unapologetically who I am in that situation. In theory, it would be good to think that you would do that, but standing in front of the world and going against the wishes of your family, especially when it comes to something that deeply affects them as well, it's a big ask. Of course, this is really disappointing for Simon though. I mean, it's a tragic situation for both of them. Anyway, Wille goes to see Simon and the bodyguards are there, as usual. I kind of love that they just hang back and mind their business for the most part. Wille says that they're still them and that nothing has to change. They just can't be seen together. Simon says that Wille has to be on his own and decide what it is that he wants, but he doesn't want to be anyone's secret. I feel that for both parties, this is the best outcome for now. They've both made their difficult decisions and have done what they needed to do. Plus, this is a fictional romance. We can't get our happily ever after just yet. I don't think that this is goodbye forever though. And then Felice cracks the case. Oh, I knew she would come through. She ends up showing Wille that all of August's photos and videos have dead pixels. It's kind of a mark that shows that the recording came from August's phone. Wille goes to confront August about it, and he just stands there looking kind of pathetic with nothing to say. Wille tells him that he's no longer a part of their family. He eventually calls his mother, but his mother already knew that it was August. She's going to keep the secret to protect the royal family. Then, after a choir performance, everybody is saying goodbye for the holidays, and out in public, Wille gives Simon a very long embrace and tells him that he loves him, and they separate for the holidays, and that's the end of the show. Okay, so I'm sure that by some of the commentary and the swooning, you can tell that I really enjoyed the show. The actors look like real teenagers, so it did feel a little young to me, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. While I also really enjoy the over-the-top flashiness and wealth of shows like Elite and Gossip Girl, I liked that this one wasn't as flashy. I also really liked that the teenagers on the show actually were restricted by their environment. If you watch shows like Pretty Little Liars or Riverdale, those kids are running around town the whole time. But I get it, they often had murders to solve, you know? Also, while I really enjoy coming out stories like Love Simon or Love Victor, I also really enjoyed this, where for the most part this just seemed like a love story where both people just happen to be boys. Wille obviously has his moments where he's scared and he doubts, but for the most part it was nice to just see him accept this about himself and at least not lie to himself or his mother or to Simon about who he is. Anyway, I would highly recommend the show. I laughed, I cried, I swooned. It's really cute, and yeah, that's about it for this video. As usual, feel free to share your thoughts below, and thank you for watching.